So I have another article about EPCAL for you to read. This is from the Riverhead Local, and it says, crowd angry about potential for cargo jets and truck traffic. Blast EPCAL developer reform. You could see a full house. People are not having it. People are standing up. They don't want this. All right. A raucous crowd packed the Hotel Indigo meeting room beyond capacity last night to confront, this was from yesterday, to confront the 555 affiliate looking to build 10 million square feet of industrial commercial development at the Calverton Enterprise Park. A project engineer for the 555 affiliate, Calverton Aviation and Technology, told Riverhead Industrial Development Agency in September that it plans to turn the vacant industrial land, I don't know if they say vacant now, it's Pine Barrens and grasslands, into regional air cargo logistics hub for package delivery service to consumers on Long Island. The controversial plan exacerbated the already inflamed public scrutiny of the $40 million deal with the company, culminating in last night's tumultuous meeting. The IDA invited CAT to present its plans to the public, but one of the developer's attorneys, Chris Kent, lost the room almost as soon as he began talking. Impatient audience members quickly began heckling, waving signs that read "No Jetport, Stop the Warehouses," and interrupting him with shouted questions and exhortations to get to the point. And we have a video, so I can share that with you. So Kent was a former Riverhead Town council member who was on the town board when the U.S. Navy deeded its 2,900-acre Calverton base to the town in 1998 and was actively involved in planning and zoning for the site's future redevelopment. He began last night's program with a recitation of the history of the site, which was occupied by Grumman Aerospace from the early 50s until 1996. And yes, it was occupied by Grumman Aerospace, but there's a big difference between that and cargo jets. And while Grumman was operating there was still a lot of the land was undeveloped, and they left it in that state, all right? But the people filling the 200 seats and standing 3 rows deep at the back of the room would have none of it. They complained loudly that they attended the meeting to learn about 555's plans for the future of the site, not to listen to a history lesson. Kent tried to shift gears, pulling up an image of the development plan on a large screen at the front of the room and describing potential uses of the site. He stressed that the developers did not yet have any tenants for the buildings, including the 1 million square feet of space to be built as Phase 1A of the development, comprising of 3 flex buildings totaling 400,000 square feet and 2 300-square-foot one-story logistics buildings along the 10,000-foot eastern runway at the site. The heckling continued as Kent tried to describe the plans, with many in the audience shouting questions about the use of the runways. "If you let me talk, really, I'm going to cover it all, I promise you. Every time you interrupt me, it takes longer," Kent told the room. He described the 3 flex buildings proposed as part of Phase 1A. The flex buildings would be occupied by business offices, energy companies, academic companies, and environmental companies. We're going to be working with agriculture. We're already in conversations with people about agricultural research and development. This is going to be an innovation technology park. That is the plan, Kent said. The buildings here, he said, pointing to the 2 300,000 square foot buildings depicted on the plan, are distribution buildings. They are. Are they for planes? No. Are they designed for distribution? Yes, Kent said. There's no reason to trust what this guy is saying, by the way. Now, the reason we're doing that, this is our first 2 buildings that are going to be built. You have to look at the market. You understand we're investing about $250 million in the first stage. The audience, which had settled down briefly, erupted again. The audience, which said settled down briefly, erupted again with people jeering, "Nice for you, keep it, and go back to the Mall of America," a reference to 555's mega mall in Minnesota. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Come on up, line up. Come up to the microphone. You don't want to listen, so I'll listen to you, Kent said. Andrew Levin of Riverhead, a Democrat candidate for town council, was the first of 30 people to address Kent and other representatives of the developer. "Obviously, these runways are going to be used for cargo. They're going to be used for a warehouse," Levin said. "It is described in this application." So the developers is just lying through his teeth. You talked about the fact when Grumman was running this property, they were doing 19,000 flights a year, when this community was completely different, right? So rather than playing more word games, if it's going to be used for cargo, whether you call it a cargo airport or not, it's still going to be used for cargo with airplanes on the runways, Levin said to applause from the audience, and that's the point. And again, since Grumman has used this, it's reverted to nature, and you're going to disturb nature when they want to do all this. So Levin then discussed the vehicular traffic that he said would be generated by the proposed distribution users at the site, which he said would be occupied by buildings equal to 13 and a half new Tanger outlet malls. You can see again, this is just like what they went through in New Jersey. We don't want a jet port in the Pine Barrens, all right? He said, according to data from the Institute of Transportation Engineers, 10 million square feet of just warehouse space can be expected to generate 35,000 additional truck trips per day. We're not going to build 10 million square feet of warehouses. Write this down. We're not going to build 10 million square feet of warehouses, Kent said. So, they're trying to basically lie, and, but nobody believes it, all right? Development plan presented to the Riverhead Industrial Development Agency at its September 21st, 2022 meeting depicts 9.36 million square feet of buildings labeled distribution or logistics buildings situated along the runways, which would be built in phases 1A and 2 of development, plus a 400,000 square foot rail distribution building in an area at the southeast end of the 7,000-foot runway to be built as Phase 1B. The rail distribution building would be connected to the existing LARR spur that enters the Enterprise Park to the east of the proposed building. In addition, the plan depicts 3 flex buildings on or near the 10,000-foot runway, which total 400,000 square feet, are slated to be built in Phase 1A. And again, you can see it's a full house. People don't want this, all right? I'm glad people on Long Island are rising up and fighting, all right? Because that's what needs to be done. This needs to be stopped. Going on further here, it says the applicant's business plan dated April 6, 2023, and subsequently posted by the Riverhead IDA on its website, states that since Calverton Aviation and Technology filed the application with the IDA in September, CAT has discussed the potential to develop both build-to-suit space and speculative-based buildings based upon the identified market needs and demands, as well as the extension of the on-site rehabilitated rail line as complementary to the proposed construction and future operation of the project. Levin said truck traffic could go as high as 66,000 truck trips daily. That's incredible. So I to pose a question, Kent interrupted. I have a question. I'm giving some context. I'm trying to make sure people understand, Mr. Kent, Levin answered. You know how that works. Yeah, sure. That was our presentation. Kent told him. In your September 2022 IDA presentation, you said that Cummings Research Park in Alabama is the most apt comparable development for what is planned for EPCAL. Cummings is a 9.5 million square feet. It generates what appears to be tens of thousands of vehicle trips per day. He suggested the level of traffic would create kind of offensive noise, dust, smoke, gas, and other nuisances banned by the zoning at the site. What is the daily trip number that you believe would violate this aspect of the zoning ordinance? Kent had said the answer would have to come from an expert. I'm not an expert. How about some common sense, Levin said. Yeah, how about some common sense, Kent replied. Kent argued with other speakers as well, including Calverton resident Catherine Wilson, who asked Kent about a statement he made regarding a failed ballot proposition that would have allowed an airport at Calverton. She asked him if there was a proposition for a cargo jet port on the ballot now, would he oppose it? He said he would, but Cat's proposal is not for a cargo jet port. EPCAL Watch member John McAuliffe of Riverhead said, the number of people who turned out for the meeting should be understood by the IDA and understood by the town board that Riverhead does not want this project to go forward, period. He was drowned out by cheers and applause and a simultaneous chant of no, no from the audience. The IDA has yet to hear people, and it has to end now, McAuliffe said. He said because CAT did not make the deadlines, did not move the money, or fill out the forms on time, the IDA could and should reject the application and send it back to the town board, which should then cancel the contract. Exactly. That's exactly what should happen. Kent said, as of the day of this meeting, I believe we have completed the deliverables. It's a very complicated project, and we have now, I believe, delivered everything to the IDA that we asked for. In an interview after the meeting, Kent said CAT has provided financial statements to the IDA as required by the IDA rules. CAT declined to provide financial statements to the town board during the town's qualified and eligible sponsor vetting process in 2018, citing the company's status as a privately held entity. Timber Park resident Crystal Wiesmiller asked what type of goods would be moved in and out of the site by rail and truck. Kent said the applicant doesn't know yet. He has said he has been approached by the Long Island Farm Bureau, which is interested in the rail. Right now, all of this is in the planning stage. What you're saying here tonight still has an impact on the plans. I can tell you that, Kent said. Everyone should feel good about that, and I agree with John McAuliffe. I'm very happy about this many people in a room. It restores my faith in the populace to come out and talk about a project. You don't know what's going where. You don't know what's moving what. You don't know what the runways are being used for. You don't know anything, Weissmiller said. We don't either. We're asking for transparency. That's why we're all here. So what are you doing? What are you proposing? You're proposing some buildings that could do this, could do that, and could do this. EPCAL Watch coordinator and founder Rex Farr of Calverton told Kent, certainly tonight I haven't heard anything. For us, the bottom line is we don't believe you. Farr said the packed room was just a fraction of the membership of EPCAL Watch, which is a coalition of environmental groups and individuals. Kelly McClinchy of Manorville, a resident of the Calverton Restoration Advisory Board, spoke of the Navy's investigation of contaminants at the former Grumman site and questioned how the developers' proposed construction might affect groundwater plumes containing PFAS. Kent said he sincerely appreciates the investigation and cleanup efforts. We're also thanking you because it's good for us to know what we're getting ourselves into. Lifelong Calverton resident Tyler Pawson said she is a paralegal at a law firm that represents clients in toxic tort litigation. My clients have cancer, respiratory conditions as a result of 9/11 and being exposed to toxic water and fumes in their neighborhoods. I see people die every day. We're scared. We're terrified. Pawson also asked what would happen to the nesting birds at the EPCAL site, which prevent drag racing events during springtime. This is not... finally, we hear from the Pine Barrens Society. So they were there, but News 12 never interviewed them. All right. Whatever reason they didn't make News 12, but here they are. This is not a good night, said Richard Amper, executive director of the Long Island Pine Barrens Society and a resident of Lake Panamoka and Ridge. And we have listened for the better part of several hours, and you're explaining what it is you don't know what you're doing, Amper said, drawing cheers from the crowd. Maybe we have a chance to change that, but not without these people, Amper said to the room. I'm sorry, we've had plenty of you. Now I think it's time to hear these people because they're living through this. This matters to them. They're the ones that have preserved the place in the past, the only time that's ever happened. So you might stop talking for yourselves. And start talking to the people who are adversely being impacted by a really bad idea, Amper said. You have been here all evening explaining why everything you're doing is right and it's wrong. Wow, so the Pine Barrens Society was there. So we'll have to take that back. They were there, though they didn't say it on their social media. Joe Grazzino of Calverton, who described himself as an aviation enthusiast, spoke about air traffic. I want to talk about a typical approach to a runway. A typical approach starts about 10 miles out, 3,000 feet. So you have your aircraft. They're going to drop down somewhere around the sound of the ocean, come down. That's going to affect our towns such as West Hampton, Spionk, Eastport, Center Murchis, Wading River to the north, and as far out as Shirley. Within 5 miles, the aircrafts now drop their approach level down to 1,500 feet. This is on a clear day, perfect conditions, no clouds in the sky, birds chirping. As soon as you start bringing the weather into it, especially if you're going to improve the runway, you're going to have to put the latest technology in there, he said. You're going to have to develop something called GPS or RNAV approach, a GPS or our approach on a bad day in IMC instrument meteorological conditions. We'll get an aircraft down to 250 feet. That is what our residents are concerned about. And also flying over the Pine Barrens, too, is not going to be good. That, around those towns, if you think you right now have a turnout, as soon as those towns catch wind that they can have aircraft around 250 feet over their houses, you're going to need a bigger building. Kent said his clients are very responsible developers. Yeah, right. Look at the American dream, all right? There will be a lot of studies done. Timber Park resident Kerry Figueroa asked if 555 is in discussion with the FAA. We haven't been discussing runways with the FAA. We've been talking about having them bring their TRACON facilities here. TRACON is the FAA's Air Traffic Control Center, the Terminal Radar Approach Control. From 2007 to 2013, the FAA was pursuing building new consolidated control facilities to serve a redesigned airspace for New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia metropolitan region. The FAA's New York TRACON is located in Westbury, and the FAA was considered moving those operations to a consolidated facility. Riverhead Town officials met with FAA representatives to pitch the EPCAL site for the new consolidated facility, which could have brought more than 900 jobs to the site. But the FAA suspended the airspace redesign in 2013, according to a record of decision by the FAA in December 2020. It is no longer expected to be fully implemented due to the changes in technology and airline procedures. Kent last night said the developer has been talking with the FAA about having a building on the site, not about the runways, most of the runways, he said. Fingernick asked if Kent had spoken to the schools about the project's impacts. First of all, I've been doing this for a very long time, about 35 years, Kent said. I represent responsible developers, and we try to make projects as least impactful as possible, and we analyze all the impacts that come from the development of the project. This is going to impact the whole town, Fingernick said, and not in a good way, and we will have a disaster like everyone else is saying. A man who did not identify himself spoke to the audience. Kent and the developers don't live here, he said. We're here to save our houses. He's not worried about his house. None of the people that are surrounding this venture are worried about their house. You think we're going to be able to find them as they build this thing and then disappear? They'll be gone. They won't be here, he said. And we are here to say one thing, and to say it loud. We are here to say no, he said it. And the audience again erupted with shouts of no. After the meeting, Tracy Stark James, executive director of the Riverhead IDA, which announced the information session and the schedule of the venue, said she attended the meeting to observe. I'm here to observe like everyone else. This is not an IDA meeting, she said. In remarks at the beginning of the meeting, Stark James said, from day one, the IDA board wanted to make this as open a process as they could. Council member Tim Hubbard was at the meeting and said he was not pleased with how it went. I attended there last night to hear the plan that they were proposing, and I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to hear the plan. I really wish the plan could have been presented, and then the question period could have started. But they were never really given the opportunity to work on the plan due to outbursts from the audience. So again, you see the Riverhead just doesn't get it. The people running Riverhead just don't understand. Now, having said that, obviously, I understand the emotion, concern, anger involved with many of the people that were there last night. But I just wish that it could have been handled better, Hubbard said. I think instead of, opening up and talking about history of the property and then all that, it should have been a conversation strictly about what their plan was, and it never got to that. And then it was a lot of misinformation of some speakers getting up to there when the questions and accusations of what was going to be and what's not going to be. And I think that the plan had been presented, Hubbard said, I think some of those questions could have been answered and clarified rather than indicating that it's just going to be an airport. It's going to be a cargo port. And this is what people are saying. But they're not listening to some of the facts. They're not listening to some of the information. Yeah, but look at the pictures. It is going to be a cargo airport. So I don't understand. These people in Riverhead Town just don't get it. Is the town hall going to have to be stormed? Is that the only way they're going to listen? Hubbard said CAT sent the town a business plan last week, and he was hoping that they would discuss that. He said he would look into whether the town board could legally ask CAT to come to a work session to present their plan, since CAT is currently before the IDA. The town joined CAT in its application to the IDA for tax benefits. Riverhead, they want to get tax benefits too. Riverhead Community Development Agency Director Dawn Thomas signed the IDA application on behalf of the town on September 9th. The application documents contain a description of the plan that the April 6th business plan document circulated by the IDA last month very closely tracks. CAT presented maps and elevations at the September 21st IDA board meeting, at which the IDA accepted CAT's application for review. Hubbard, the Republican candidate for supervisor this year, said he would never support cargo jets using the EPCAL site. Hubbard also noted he voted against the contract in December 2017. But then he subsequently voted in favor of the determination that CAT was a qualified, eligible sponsor to purchase and develop the site, giving the project green light in November 2019. I just wish people would hold it in a little bit and then have Adam with the questions and everything else, Hubbard said. I'm sorry I didn't get to see the presentation. I was really looking forward to see what it is because I need to be informed as well as everyone else who lives here. Greater College and Civic Association President Toki Turchon had a different take on the meeting. I think that the public owned the room last night, she said, and I'm happy. And they did. And the point is, people don't want this, all right? Riverhead needs to take this off the table already, all right? People don't want it. And if they continue to push this through, first of all, there's an election coming up, and those people that are running the town can be thrown out. There's an election coming up in November for the town supervisor, and I think some other people in the town board. All right. The other thing that could happen is if they continue down this path and try to squeeze it in, we may see the public, and rightfully so, start storming town board meetings as well to stop them from pushing this through. People don't want it. It's clear. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for the town. It's bad for Long Island. Everything about it is bad. Everything. All right. The only logical thing Riverhead should do now is cancel this contract and deny the application for this development. That is the only option that makes sense now. That's it. Thank you for watching. And Riverhead, you are on notice. You better do the right thing, because I'm telling you got a lot of angry people out there. They look a lot angrier than even I am. So, Supervisor Yvette Aguilar, you better do what's right by these people. All right. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of angry people, and it's not going to be good for you. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching.